Today I'm showing you all of my biggest Jurassic World dinosaur figures. I've got tons of different species in here, so let's get started. First up is the super colossal Indominus Rex. This figure has the classic gray coloring like you'll see in the movies. It's got a super textured and bumpy back. It's got the spines right along its neck right there. And it has a super scary looking set of teeth. Plus, this figure is fully posable. You can move the tail, you can move the legs and the ankles, you can move the arms and the wrists, and you can twist the neck around too. This is the Jurassic World Dominion Super Colossal Atrociraptor. This figure has a body shape very similar to the Velociraptors that we'll see later on. It's got the classic coloring like you'll see in the movie for an Atrociraptor. It's got a smaller and more narrow mouth than the Indominus Rex, and its teeth are a lot more evenly spaced too. It's got those red eyes, and this figure is fully posable. It can move the wrists and the arms, you can twist the neck back and forth, ankles, the legs, and the tail as well. Next up is the super colossal Tyrannosaurus Rex with custom coloring. This T-Rex is super bright. It's got the bright red on the belly and the sides. It's got some yellow-orange detailing right along the black, and then the full black top. Plus, it's got some more intricate detailing with the black and orange along its face too. And interestingly, there's no pupil in this T-Rex's eyes at all, so it makes it look a lot more scary and menacing looking. And you can even see that its teeth are dirty too. That's intentional to make it look a lot more realistic. And of course, this T-Rex is fully posable as well, with the arms, legs, neck, and the tail too. And what I didn't mention for the other ones yet is that all of these have the stomach compartment, so you can actually feed these dinosaurs, smaller dinosaurs, all the way down the throat into their stomach compartment. So let's go ahead and feed this T-Rex a few small dinosaurs. And there they are. Here is another super colossal Tyrannosaurus Rex with custom coloring. I believe this T-Rex used to be an orange Tyrannosaurus Rex, but now it is a soft blue-gray color. It's got some darker feet and black nails. And the coolest part is it's got some blood red eyes too, and black and silver teeth. That's pretty cool. I especially like the shading in this dinosaur because it really brings out the texture and all the wrinkles in its skin. That is pretty cool. Let's go ahead and feed this dinosaur a few miniature dinosaurs as well. This is a super colossal Velociraptor. It's got a dark black body with some yellow striping down the sides and a light brown top. It's got some pretty cool detailing all over it too. You can see that there's some lighter specks in its skin, and you can see the texture of its skin everywhere. Look at that. That's really cool. It's also got some massive claws on its hands, and of course some massive claws on its feet as well. Look at the size of those things. It's almost as big as my thumb. And my favorite part of this Velociraptor is the color of its eyes. Look at how detailed that is. It's got some orange, it's got some gold, it's got some bright red in there, and then the narrow pupil to make it look pretty menacing. And when you open up the mouth, you can see that it's got a fine set of teeth. They all look pretty clean and in place. That's pretty cool. Let's give this Velociraptor a little mini dino snack. This is another Velociraptor super colossal figure, but as you can probably already tell, it is Velociraptor Blue. It's got the blue stripe all the way down to its tail on both sides of its body. It's also got those amazing gold, orange, and yellow eyes with the amazing detail. It's got the full set of teeth, and it's got some pretty cool texture all over its body too. The belly on this Velociraptor is actually a light yellow, and just like the other super colossal figures, it is fully posable with the wrists, the arms, the legs, the tail, just all over its body. This super colossal T-Rex, I believe, is from Camp Cretaceous. It's got the light orange body with the lighter underbelly and the brown top. It's also got some awesome texturing all over its body, some wrinkles and scars and scrapes, make it look a lot more realistic. This T-Rex has yellow eyes and round pupils, which make it look a little bit less scary. and it's got the full set of teeth on the outside of its jaw. So when you close it, you can still see it on the outside as well. This figure is fully posable as well, just like the other ones. So why don't we go ahead and give this T-Rex a mini dino snack. Here's a different dinosaur from what we've seen so far. This is an Apatosaurus. This figure is a bit smaller from the T-Rexes and other figures that we've seen in this video so far, but compared to a lot of the other Jurassic World figures, this thing is still huge. Most of its body is dark green. It's got some lighter green detailing along the top, and it's got a light tan green underbelly. With this figure, you can actually open and close the mouth. You can see some teeth in there, some tiny little teeth. It's got tons of detail around its face too. It's got wrinkles all over its eyes. It's got black eyes. You can move the head around. You can move the neck back and forth. You can move the legs up and down as well. And you can swing the tail back and forth too. We're in our last row of super large dinosaurs now. This is another super colossal T-Rex with different coloring than all the rest of them. You can see it's got some battle damage detailing along its neck and underneath its chin. The rest of its body is dark green. It's got some black detailing and stripes along the top and a lighter underbelly. And this figure has gold eyes too, which is pretty cool. Now with this figure, because it's so old, when you open it up, you'll see that there's not that many teeth left. That's because a lot of them broke off, sadly. And it actually came with sound effects originally when you opened up the jaw. It's kind of broken now, so you can't really hear them. Let's give this T-Rex a few mini dinosaurs as well. Next up, we've got the super colossal Carnotaurus Toro. This figure has the classic clay red coloring for the Carnotaurus with the brown coloring along the top. It's got a ton of little spikes and bumps along its back, as well as the iconic horns right above its eyes. It's also got some battle damage right on its nose too. And just like the T-Rex figures, the teeth are on the outside of the jaw, so when you close it, you can still see the teeth. Kind of hard to notice, but it does also have black spots, little specks, all over its body to give it a little more texture and detail too. See, like right there, you can see some. That's pretty cool. I like the attention to detail. Here is the Jurassic World Dominion Giganotosaurus. This figure is a jungle green color with black detailing and stripes all over the top of its body. It's got this huge spike all the way down its back, all the way down its tail as well. And on its face, it's also got some unique features as well. It's got some ridges and some detailing right around its eyes. Its eyes are a gold color with the narrow pupil, making it look a lot more evil. It has similar teeth to the Indominus Rex in that they're longer, and when you close it, they fit together perfectly, which I think looks really cool. And all over its body, if you look closely, you can see scars and scrapes and battle damage from past battles, which I think is a really cool detail. Let's give a few miniature dinosaurs to this hungry Giganotosaurus. Next up, we've got the Brachiosaurus figure. This figure is super tall. I can't even get its head in frame when it's standing up straight all the way. But let's check out the details of its face. You can still open and close its mouth, and it's got some tiny little teeth in there. It's got the black eyes and this ridge right above its head, and this super long neck that you can move up and down, as well as adjustable legs and a tail too. Plus, the rest of its body has some pretty cool texturing and detailing. Although it is all brown, you can see that it's got some shading and some coloring to make it look a little more realistic. And next, we've got the Jurassic World Dominion Super Colossal T-Rex. This is the newest Super Colossal T-Rex that Jurassic World has released. It's got the dark brown body with black striping and detailing along the top, and the lighter underbelly. And just like the other T-Rex figures, it has the teeth on the outside of its jaw, so that when you close the jaw, you can still see the teeth on the outside. This figure also has yellow eyes and the round pupil, and it has tons of detailing and bumps and texturing all over its face too. Here's a few miniature dinosaurs for this super colossal T-Rex. first figure that we're checking out is a Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. This T-Rex figure, I believe, was released during the Fallen Kingdom era of Jurassic World. It is the only T-Rex I have that has this bright orange body with the darker brown on the top. And as you'll see with many of these Super Colossal figures, it has a stomach compartment so you can actually feed this T-Rex smaller figures. And an interesting fact about T-Rexes is that they had brains twice as big as those of other giant carnivores, which means that T-Rexes were actually highly intelligent. Now it's time for our next Super Colossal figure, and this is another T-Rex. But this T-Rex looks quite a bit different. This one was released for Jurassic World Dominion, so it's a bit more recent of a figure. It's got the totally different coloring with the dark brown and black detailing, but other than that, it's pretty much the same figure in shape and size. So let's give this T-Rex a snack in its stomach compartment. And an interesting fact about the T-Rex was that the strength of their jaw could crush a car. That is super strong. On to our next Super Colossal figure. This is yet another T-Rex, but this one's pretty special because I had this one custom colored. Now I believe that this was an orange T-Rex originally from the Fallen Kingdom collection, but now I've had it painted to have this fiery red coloring with the yellow and then the black along the top, and I gotta say, it looks really epic. And one interesting thing about this figure is that its eyes don't have pupils, which I think make it look a whole lot more evil. So then let's feed this T-Rex another little snack. And another interesting fact about the T-Rexes was that they might have been able to run between 10 to 25 miles per hour. And you would have a pretty hard time running away from them if they ran that fast. For our next Super Colossal figure, we've got the Indoraptor figure. Now this figure was released pretty recently, either earlier this year or late last year, and it features the iconic black coloring with the gold striping along the side. It also has much larger front arms compared to the T-Rex, and huge claws on their feet, very similar to raptors. So let's feed this Indoraptor a little snack, and did you know that Indoraptors actually are able to use echolocation to locate their prey? That's a pretty scary fact, especially when you see these teeth. Next up is the first herbivore of this Super Colossal collection. This is a Mamenchisaurus dinosaur figure. This is a sauropod dinosaur, and I bought this one just about a week ago. It's got the brown coloring with the darker brown striping on the top. And it's actually kind of hard to show it all in camera because its neck is so long. But an interesting fact about these dinosaurs was that their lungs operated like a bird's rather than humans. Now here is a much brighter dinosaur. This is my Super Colossal Atrociraptor figure. This big figure was released for Jurassic World Dominion, and it looks a lot like the Atrociraptor that you see in the movie. And while its head shape is a bit different than a Velociraptor's head, it has pretty similar front arms, and I think the feet and the legs look pretty similar to a Velociraptor as well. Now in real life, Velociraptors weighed only between 20 and 70 pounds, which is a whole lot smaller than a T-Rex or anything like that. So let's feed this dinosaur a little snack and move on to the next dinosaur. Next up is one of my favorite dinosaur species. This is the Carnotaurus Toro Super Colossal figure released for the Camp Cretaceous series. It's got the mostly orange body with the brown on the top and then the lighter underbelly. It's got a shorter snout compared to T-Rexes, and Carnotauruses also have these two horns on their head. An interesting fact is, although we don't know exactly what these horns were used for, it's speculated that they were either used for attacking and defense, or perhaps even for attracting a mate. Now then, let's feed this Carnotaurus a little snack, and let's move on to the next dinosaur. Now here is another T-Rex collection. I have quite a few Super Colossal T-Rexes, and this one is actually another special custom colored one. So it's been painted over to now have this camouflage green coloring with some black along the top. And you can see that they even added in some battle damage on the sides, on the legs. And now this figure's pretty old, so you can see that some of the paint is starting to wear off. It looks like it was the orange T-Rex previously. But this might be some of my favorite coloring out of all the Super Colossal figures that I have. So let's give them a little snack, and let's move on to the next dinosaur. And now here is the first Velociraptor figure. This, of course, is Velociraptor Blue. And it's got this faded green coloring over most of its body, and of course the bright blue stripe along its side. The front arms have the massive claws, as do the feet, much like the Indoraptor. And an interesting fact that you may already know is that now they think that Velociraptors had feathers over its entire body. So this is actually not very accurate anymore. But let's go ahead and feed a snack to the Velociraptor Blue and move on to our next dinosaur. Next up, we've got another giant sauropod dinosaur. This is a Brachiosaurus. And this specific figure was released for Jurassic World Dominion. There's actually an older version of the Brachiosaurus dinosaur that I'll show you in a little bit. But the most notable difference is the coloring along its body and this bright blue reflective paint along its head. And an interesting fact about the Brachiosaurus is that they could weigh up to 25 tons, which is massive. And now it's time for the super colossal Indominus Rex dinosaur. This figure has the same iconic gray coloring as many of the smaller versions of it, but it's got quite a bit more detailing with all these bumps and spikes, especially the ones on its back, and even the ones on its arms too. Now this figure was released for Camp Cretaceous, and as you probably already know, is a man-made dinosaur, which they created by mixing the DNA of a Carnotaurus, Giganotosaurus, and a ton of other dinosaurs to make the ultimate predator. Now let's feed this Indominus Rex and move on to the next dinosaur. Next up is another four-legged dinosaur. This is the Apatosaurus. This figure has the dark green coloring with the lighter green striping along the top. And on this figure, you can move the legs, the tail, the neck. You can move the head up and down, as well as open and close the mouth. And although this Apatosaurus figure looks smaller than the Brachiosaurus figure we saw earlier, in real life, these dinosaurs were actually larger than Brachiosauruses, sometimes by quite a lot. Now here we have a massive dinosaur made popular by the Jurassic World Dominion movie. This of course is the Giganotosaurus dinosaur. It's got the dark green coloring over pretty much its whole body other than the black detailing along its back. It's got a big old scary looking spine that runs all the way up to its head, and it's got some pretty scary looking teeth too, although it's worth noting that the front arms do look quite a bit larger compared to a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And an interesting fact about these dinosaurs, which you may already know if you saw the Jurassic World Dominion movie, is that they actually outweigh Tyrannosaurus Rexes by a little bit. But do you think a Giganotosaurus would defeat a T-Rex in a one-on-one battle? I'm not sure I know the answer to that, but let's go ahead and give this Giganotosaurus a little snack and move on to the next dinosaur. For our next super colossal figure, we've got another Velociraptor, but actually this one was custom repainted to look like an Indoraptor. And I think it works out pretty well because they're so similar in their shape, and it's just been repainted with this black along most of the body and then the gold stripe along both the sides. Although one important thing to note is that at least compared to the real super colossal Indoraptor, the size of the head on this figure is quite a bit smaller, and the shape of the teeth is quite different as well. For the next dinosaur, we're gonna actually do a little side-by-side comparison. These are both Mosasaurus figures, but you'll notice that they look quite a bit different. This is the newer version called the Ocean Protector, and this one is an older version. Now in terms of body shape and size, they look pretty much identical, and on both of them you can open and close the jaws, you can move the flippers, and only on this darker figure here can you move the tail back and forth. But obviously the biggest difference between the two is the coloring. The newer version has a much darker coloring with some white specks all over its body, and the older version here is much lighter in color with a light blue on the sides and then a gray coloring along the top, and its mouth is a much more pinkish color compared to the new version. So which version do you like better, the new version or the old version? And next up is my final super colossal Tyrannosaurus Rex in my entire collection. And you probably haven't seen that many T-Rexes like this one because yet again, it is a custom painted T-Rex. It's got the blue-gray coloring over its entire body with the dark red eyes, which I really love. And instead of its teeth being white, they're a dirty gray color, which I think is a really nice touch. But since it's an older figure, you can see that the custom painting is starting to flake off a little bit, so it is pretty old. Now let's feed this T-Rex a little snack and move on to the next dinosaur. Now here is my largest quadrupedal dinosaur yet. This is my Dreadnoughtus dinosaur, which was released for Jurassic World Dominion. And it is a super long figure. It's kind of hard to even show how long it is from the tail all the way to the head. Plus it's got this pretty cool coloring as well. It's kind of like a dark blue coloring along its body. It's got the lighter underbelly and then the tan detailing on its back all the way up to its head. Now I said earlier that the Apatosaurus was heavier than the Brachiosaurus, But the Dreadnoughtus is even heavier than the Apatosaurus. These dinosaurs weighed around 65 tons, so this is the heaviest of the three by far. And now here is the final super colossal dinosaur of this collection. This is another Brachiosaurus dinosaur, but it actually looks a little bit different compared to the one that I showed you earlier. This is the original version, so it doesn't have any of the new coloring, such as the reflective blue paint along the top of its head right here. So this is just an older and much more basic version of the Brachiosaurus, just with that light brown over pretty much all of its body. But still, this is quite a massive figure nonetheless. The first dinosaur is this massive Indominus Rex predator from the new Dino Tracker series. It has a button on the tail to activate the sound effects and chomping. And check out that green lighting in its neck too. Next up is another massive predator. This is the Spinosaurus. And this one is actually pretty special because it is in the battle damage edition. And you can see the battle damage right here on the side that you can open right up and press a button to spin around. Way in the back here, this predator is another Indominus Rex, and this one is the Extreme Battle Damage Edition. Check that out, you can turn on and off the battle damage with the sound effects, and you can press the button on its tail for the chomping action. Next up, I've got a Giganotosaurus figure. This figure is almost as large as the Indominus Rex figures, and it has a button on its back to swing the torso around, as well as chomp its jaw open and shut. Next up is the new 93 Real Feel Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. It has the all red body and it actually has a stomach compartment so you can feed it smaller dinosaurs. Way in the back here is a custom painted Indominus Rex. It's been changed to be camouflage green and they added a bunch of blood around its jaw. Here is the Dino Tracker's Tyrannosaurus Rex figure with the headpiece, and it has one button on its back for the chomping action. Next up is another Indominus Rex figure, but this one is actually a hybrid one from the first Jurassic World movie. It's got some hidden spikes that you can pop up, and it's even battery operated for some jaw-chomping action. This predator is the Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. It features an extremely posable body and amazing detailing and coloring. Here is another battle damaged dinosaur. This one is the T-Rex edition, and right on its side, just like the Indominus Rex, it has the battle damage that you can turn on and off. Next up is this huge Triceratops figure. This is a whole lot larger than my other Triceratops, and it comes in the classic brown coloring. Next up is the Grab and Growl Endoraptor figure from Fallen Kingdom. It has an action button for slashing its arms and for chomping its jaw. This is the Scorpius Rex figure from Camp Cretaceous. It has a dark green body and is fairly posable. You can move the arms, the legs, and the tail and manually open and close the mouth. Here is the Pyroraptor figure from Jurassic World Dominion. This is the basic edition, so you can move its arms, its legs, and its tail, but you can't open and close the jaw. Here is a crazy looking Dilophosaurus figure from the first Jurassic World movie. It's got neon colors all over and a bit of battle damage right on the side. This next figure is the Sound Surge Tyrannosaurus Rex figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It's a lot smaller in size, and there's a button on its back for the sound effects. Now here's one massive predator figure. This is the Allosaurus in the Battle Damage edition. So just like the Spinosaurus we saw earlier, it has battle damage right on the side. This dinosaur, I believe, is called the Kentrosaurus. It looks a lot like a Stegosaurus, and it has these massive spikes right on its side, and there's an action button on its back to flip those spikes back and forth. Here is a Carcharodontosaurus figure in the blue, brown, and orange edition, and it has a single action button on its back for a chomping motion. Up next from the new Dino Tracker series is the Sinotyrannus figure. It's got this cool headpiece that goes all the way down to its back, and it has two action buttons, one for chomping the jaw and one for swinging the tail. Here is a Cryolophosaurus figure, I believe from Camp Cretaceous. It is in the dark blue version, and on this figure you can move the tail around to move the head with sound effects. This is another big predator figure. This is a Carnotaurus figure. This one's a bit older. It has the bright orange and red coloring and the button on its tail for chomping its jaw. And here is a newer Carnotaurus figure. This one is from Dino Trackers. You can see it still has very similar coloring, but this version actually has some buttons on its side for sound effects and lighting. Plus, there is a chomping action button as well. This figure is the Stegosaurus figure in the dark blue-gray coloring, and it has a single action button on its back for swinging the tail back and forth. Oh, you know what? It looks like I've actually got two versions of this same figure. So these are twin dinosaurs right here. Up next is another Indoraptor figure, I believe also from Fallen Kingdom. This figure features a fully posable body, but no action buttons. Next is an Iguanodon figure from Jurassic World Dominion, and it features an action button when you press down on its back. This brightly colored dinosaur, I believe, is called a Scutosaurus. Check out those huge horns right underneath its chin. Here's another Indominus Rex figure. This one is from the first Jurassic World movie, and it features the battle damage right on the side that you can hide and reveal. Plus, it's got an attack action when you press down on the tail. This next figure is a baby Stegosaurus figure. This one came out pretty recently. I really love the green coloring on this. And I've got another baby dinosaur in here. This one is the juvenile Nasutoceratops figure. And for the final figure in this first bin is a Minmi figure in the bright green coloring with spikes all over its back. Now it's time for the second bin, but before we do, let's check out this brand new Camp Cretaceous figure, the Gallimimus from the Fierce Force series. So it's a pretty small figure, probably around the same size as my other Gallimimus figures. Got some pretty cool camo coloring with the green on the sides and the brown on the top, and it looks like there's a single action button for moving its head up and down. Now let's check out this massive predator, the Mosasaurus. This is obviously an aquatic dinosaur, and it is a super long figure. Over here I've got another Spinosaurus figure. This is the Legacy Collection version, so it has the dark green coloring with the red spine, and of course the jaw-chomping button on the top of its head. Here's another predator, and this figure's pretty old, once again from the first Jurassic World movie. This is another Indominus Rex, and this figure has some real feel skin, so its head and its neck are a soft rubber, and there's an action that when you press down on its arm, it actually opens up its mouth. Next up is another battle damage T-Rex, but this one does not have the battle damage right here on the side. Instead, it has it painted on its neck, on its chin, and other parts of its body as well. And here's another Carnotaurus figure, but this is the Sound Surge edition, so it's a whole lot smaller, and it has a single button on its back for the sound effects. Check out this new Indoraptor figure from the Dino Trackers series. It has a chomping action when you move its arms, and another chomping action when you press down on its back. This figure is from Camp Cretaceous, I believe. This is the Scorpius Rex figure. It has the yellow underbelly and the black sides, and it's got two action buttons, one to operate its jaw, and another to operate its arms. Here is the new Legacy Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. I bought this one quite recently. It's got some really cool green coloring with the gray and yellow on top, and the button on the top of its head for chomping. Next up is the Hammond Collection Metriacanthosaurus figure. It's got some really cool coloring and some orange on its nose, and like all Hammond Collection figures, features a fully posable body. This predator figure is an Atrociraptor from Jurassic World Dominion. It is the basic series, so you can move its arms, its legs, and its tail, but you can't open or close its mouth. Check it out, here's another Mosasaurus figure, but this one's a whole lot smaller, and it's from the first movie. It's even got some battle damage right there on the side that you can open and close. And this gigantic figure is the Stegosaurus from the Dino Tracker series. It has this huge backpack and two action buttons. The first swings its tail up and down, and the second on the other side swings its tail side to side. Next up, this crazy looking predator is called the Ichthyovenator. It's got some bright green coloring on its body and a single attack action for chomping its jaw. Here is a Ceratosaurus figure in the dark green and black coloring, and it's got an action button on its back for jaw chomping. And here's another Ceratosaurus figure. This one's a bit older. I think it might be from the Fallen Kingdom collection. It's got totally different coloring and a single button on its back for jaw chomping. This figure is an Allosaurus figure. It's got the bright blue, dark blue, and tan coloring, and two action buttons on its back, one for chomping the jaw and one for moving its arms. This figure is the Ankylosaurus figure in the clay red, brown, and tan coloring. And it has a single attack feature. When you press down on its body, it swings its tail back and forth. Here is the Albertosaurus figure in the green coloring with the battle damage on the side that you can open and close. This big figure is the Therizinosaurus from Jurassic World Dominion. It features a tail that can move the torso around and a button for jaw chomping. Here is the Metriacanthosaurus figure in the yellow and green coloring, and it has a single action button on its back for chomping its jaw. I've got a Velociraptor figure here. This is from the first Jurassic World movie, so you can actually only move its arms and its legs. Its mouth is stuck open. Here is the Hammond Collection Triceratops figure. It's in the classic brown coloring, and just like the other Hammond Collection figures, is super posable and quite detailed. Here is another Scorpius Rex figure. This is the basic edition, so you can move its arms, its legs, and its tail, but you can't open and close the jaw, and it's quite a narrow dinosaur. Look how thin that is. Here is the Dryptosaurus figure from the Dino Tracker series, and it features an attack button on its back for chomping. I've got another Allosaurus figure in here with the tan and blue coloring, and the single action button on its back for the chomping and sound effects. Up next is a smaller Carnotaurus figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It features the dark green and orange coloring, and you can tell it's missing a horn, just like in the movie. This figure is the Ceratosaurus figure from Camp Cretaceous, and it's got the action button on its back for the roaring and sound effects. From the Dino Tracker series is this new Diabloceratops figure in the bright red coloring, and it has the action button on its back for sound effects and moving its head. Here's a similar looking dinosaur. This is a Triceratops figure in the green and brown coloring, and it's got two actions on its back, one for moving its head and the other for moving its tail. Here is the Eocarcharia figure from the Dino Tracker series. It's got feather texturing all over its body and a single action button on its back for the sound effects. Next up is a Baryonyx figure in the bright green coloring, and it has that same action button on its back for the chomping action. This crazy looking dinosaur is called the Irritator. It's got tons of different colors on its body and the action button on its back to move its head around with sound effects. And here is yet another Indoraptor figure. This one is the basic edition, so you can move its arms, its legs, and its tail, and it still has that really awesome coloring. This is the Hammond Collection Concavinator figure with the blue, the bright orange, and a little bit of brown coloring. Also from the Hammond Collection is this Irritator figure. It is in the gray and yellow coloring, and it has some really awesome detailing all over its whole body. And I've got another Triceratops figure. This one is from Jurassic World Dominion, and when you press down on its back, you get a roaring action. This is the Baryonyx Grim figure with the tan, bright green, and dark green coloring. And with this figure, you can use the tail to control the head. Here's another Hammond Collection figure. This one is the Ankylosaurus figure. So it is super posable just like the others, and it's quite a bit larger compared to my other Ankylosaurus figures. Next up, this crazy looking dinosaur is called the Sarcosuchus. And with this figure, you can use the tail to control the head and chomp the jaw. Next, from the Amber Collection, this predator is the Velociraptor. It comes in the brown with darker brown striping and is super posable. Here is the Sound Surge Giganotosaurus figure. It's a whole lot smaller compared to the Giganotosaurus that I showed you earlier, and let's check out those sound effects. This is a basic Velociraptor figure in the orange coloring. Check out those bright yellow eyes. Next up is a pretty wild looking figure. This is a Dilophosaurus figure, and when you press down on the tail, you get a chomping action. And here we've got another Dilophosaurus figure, but this one actually has the frills that you can pull out to the front. Here is another Velociraptor figure from the first Jurassic World movie. So you can adjust its legs and its arms, but you can't control its mouth or its tail. And here's our first winged dinosaur of this collection. This is a gigantic Pteranodon figure in the red and blue coloring. Next up is this Allosaurus figure in the dark green, white, and red coloring, and it has the action button on its back for the chomping and sound effects. This figure is the Regaloceratops from the new Dino Tracker series. It's got a bright yellow body and an action button on its back for moving its head with sound effects. Here is a Pyroraptor figure from the Gujitsu series. This figure is super stretchy, and if you look close inside, you can see that there's actually feathers inside of the goo. This is a hybrid T-Rex Dilophosaurus figure from the first Jurassic World movie. It's super bright with this orange and the shiny gold on top, and it's even got some battle damage on the side. Also from the first Jurassic World movie is this miniature Spinosaurus figure. It also has the battle damage on the side, and you can control the head by moving the tail. Here is a smaller Velociraptor figure in the yellow and brown coloring. And check it out, it's got the battle damage right on the side that you can open and close. Here is a Herrerasaurus figure in the green and brown coloring. And check that out, it also has the battle damage right there on the side. Look at this, I've got the Velociraptor Beta figure, and it even has a little dial on its back so that you can open and close its mouth. Here is an Allosaurus figure from the first Jurassic World movie. It's got the bright yellow and red on its body, and you can use the tail to control the head. I've got another winged dinosaur here. This one is a Dimorphodon figure in the bright red with some orange and yellow on its wings. Here's another Dilophosaurus figure. This one is mostly purple, but it has tons of yellow, orange, and red on its frills. And check this out, here's a bunch more Velociraptor figures. This first one is green and brown, and it has some green specks on its side, which is pretty cool. Here is a miniature Hammond Collection Velociraptor, so this figure is super posable. There's also this classic brown Velociraptor figure with the reflective green eyes. And then I've got two Velociraptor blue figures in here. This first one is a classic one without any special features, but this one right here is actually spring-loaded in the legs, so it'll actually jump up into the air when you press down on it. Oh, looks like I missed a few other raptor figures. I've got a sneaking green Velociraptor figure here, and I've got a white with brown stripes, a Trosiraptor figure. Here is a Monolophosaurus from Camp Cretaceous in the dark green, yellow, and red coloring. There's this Stygimoloch figure in the red-orange coloring with the striping on the sides, and with an attack that when you press down on its tail, it activates the headbutting action. Here is another Gallimimus figure, but this one is in a tan coloring, and it has some striping along the top. Next, there's this smaller dinosaur that I actually can't remember the name of this species, but it has some pretty cool red and blue coloring. Next is another winged dinosaur. This is another Pteranodon figure. It's mostly gray, but it looks like it has some purple detailing on its face and on its feet. And there's a single action button on its back for flapping the wings. And there's this weird looking little dinosaur. I think it might be an Atrociraptor. You can actually turn it on so it's battery operated, and then it'll move around. And it's got some sound effects too. Next up in this collection are a few Snap Squad figures. I believe this first one here is a T-Rex figure. I've also got the Dilophosaurus figure in this collection. And then finally, an older Carnotaurus figure. And for the final four, I've got a bunch of super miniature figures. I've got Velociraptor Blue in this super tiny figure. There's also this Endoraptor figure in the crawling pose. And here is a Stegosaurus figure with the brown and green coloring. And finally, but certainly not least, a miniature Mosasaurus figure. The first super colossal figure in this collection is the Giganotosaurus from Jurassic World Dominion. It has this soft green coloring with the black detailing all over its side and its back. It's got a pretty large spine running along its back and some really cool teeth in its mouth. And you'll see that many of these super colossal figures have a stomach compartment, so why don't we go ahead and feed this Giganotosaurus some miniature dinosaurs. And let's set it on the left side right over here. Next up is the super colossal Velociraptor Blue figure. This one might be one of my favorite super colossal figures. It of course has the iconic blue stripe running down the side. It's got some huge claws on its hands. And this raptor figure actually comes with more colored eyes than many of the other super colossal figures. So let's set it next to the Giganotosaurus, and let's feed it a few miniature dinosaurs. Next, I've got a custom colored Endoraptor figure. Now this figure was actually originally a Velociraptor Blue figure, but it was custom colored to look like an Endoraptor. And as you probably noticed, I've got the real Endoraptor super colossal figure that we'll check out next. So of course you can see that these two are identical in size and shape, and the big difference is the coloring. You'll see that the Endoraptor still has the gold stripe, pretty similar to Velociraptor Blue over here. Now let's give it a few miniature dinosaurs to eat, and let's move on to the next one. Here it is. It is time to open up the brand new super colossal Dino Trackers Endoraptor figure. super colossal figure that Jurassic World has released. And this is a totally new design. It's not a copy of the T-Rex figures or the Raptor figures. First of all, it's got these little spikes on its back, which I think only the Indominus Rex Super Colossal figures has. It of course has the gold coloring running along its side all the way up to its neck. Looks like it has smaller claws than the Raptor figures have. And then on the face, it's got some more spikes behind its head right here. It's kind of a soft rubber. It's got some dark red eyes and some really interesting looking teeth. These are really long, and some of them are actually kind of sticking out to the side, which is pretty unique. I don't think another super colossal figure does that. Now, when we compare it to the custom colored one that used to be a Raptor, looks like this figure's face is maybe a little bit larger than the Raptor version. Its teeth are definitely a lot more prominent. And yeah, look at that. Here are the Raptor's claws, and then this is the Indoraptor's claws. So quite a bit shorter. But all in all, I'd say this is a pretty awesome figure, and I'm super excited to have it in my collection finally. The next figure here is a custom colored Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. It features a bright red coloring with some yellow detailing right along the black, and some pretty cool shading and texturing all over its face. Its teeth are a bit gritty looking, like it's been in battle. Overall, this is pretty awesome. Now let's feed all three of these, because I think I forgot to feed all of them. Next up, why don't we grab another T-Rex? This figure is another custom colored T-Rex, but this one is in a blue-gray coloring. It has some bright red eyes and some darker gray teeth. And other than that, I think it's pretty much the same as this other T-Rex over here. And let's give it a few mini dinos for it to snack on. Next up, why don't we go with the Indoraptor from Jurassic World Dominion. It features a similar body as the raptors that we saw earlier, although it does have some different texturing and bumps along its body, and the top of its head is different too, I think. And just like in the movie, it has the white body with the brown and light brown striping. Now let's set this up next in line, and let's feed it a dinosaur. Next up, we've got the Indominus Rex Super Colossal figure. This one, I believe, came as part of Camp Cretaceous. It's got some pretty cool spikes and bumps on its back, and the larger spikes right on the back of its head. And similar to the new Indoraptor Dino Trackers figure that I've got right over here, this Indominus Rex also has the teeth that stick outside of its mouth and are a whole lot larger. Now let's set it in place next to the Indoraptor, and let's feed it a small dinosaur. Next, we're gonna go with the Super Colossal Carnotaurus Toro figure. This figure has some different coloring than all the other Super Colossal figures because it has the clay red coloring and the brown top. And just like the Indominus Rex, has a bunch of bumps and spikes along its back. But even better, this figure has two horns on the top of its head. Now let's set this Carnotaurus up next in line, and let's feed it a snack. The next figure I'm showing you is the Jurassic World Dominion Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. This figure is also pretty recent compared to many of these other figures, and it features some unique coloring compared to all the other Super Colossal T-Rex figures that I have, with the dark brown and the black on top. And like all the other T-Rex figures, it has a row of clean teeth on the top of varying sizes, and then a row of smaller teeth on the bottom. So next, let's feed it a small dinosaur. This next figure is one of the longest Jurassic World figures that I have. This is the Dreadnoughtus figure from Jurassic World Dominion. I mean, this figure is crazy. Look how long its neck is, and there's its body, and then a super long tail. It just keeps going. And I think that is pretty amazing. It's crazy that they came out with a figure this large. And it's still detailed enough that you can even open and close its mouth. Next, we're going with another T-Rex figure. I think this figure might have been released as part of the Fallen Kingdom collection, either that or maybe Camp Cretaceous. And this T-Rex features the light orange coloring, and it gets a little bit to a darker brown along the top of its body. It has some nice shading and detailing along its face. It's got the yellow eyes, and of course, the teeth, very similar to the Dominion T-Rex's teeth over here. And here's its little dino snack. Next is the Jurassic World Dominion Brachiosaurus figure. And this figure might be the tallest super colossal figure that I have in my collection. Look how much taller it is compared to the T-Rexes. It features some speckled coloring along its back, and it has the lighter underbelly that goes up its neck, and then along its face, it has some pretty cool reflective blue paint. Plus, you can open and close the mouth too. Now let's set this next in line and move on to our next figure. Next up is another T-Rex figure, and this one might be my favorite T-Rex figure because of its camo green coloring and its huge battle damage on the side. I doubt you'll be able to find a T-Rex with this type of coloring because this T-Rex was custom colored. So I think it actually used to be an all orange figure. I think it was actually this figure. You can see that it does have some battle damage right there. And in this custom colored painting, they actually just colored that in and added a bunch other cool details too. But sadly, this figure is really old, so as you can see, a lot of its teeth in its mouth are actually broken. But that doesn't mean it can't enjoy a little dino snack. And finally, I've got the Jurassic World Dominion Apatosaurus figure. As you can see, this figure stands a little bit shorter than the Brachiosaurus figure right here, and the Dreadnoughtus figure right here, and definitely is not as long as the Dreadnoughtus figure. And it features the camo green coloring with some lighter detailing along the top of its back. It's got all those stripes and a little tiny head up front that you can turn and move around and even open and close the mouth too. And that is all of my super colossal figures. Which one is your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. We're gonna start with this old Jurassic Park T-Rex figure. This T-Rex figure has the real feel skin, so it's actually rubber instead of hard plastic. And when you press on the stomach, it opens and closes its mouth, although it doesn't work too well anymore. It's pretty old. And our first prey is this Dino Tracker's Stegosaurus. This is one of my newest Stegosaurus figures. It has this awesome backpack. There's some pretty cool coloring and detailing all over its body too. For the next mighty T-Rex, we're gonna go with this bright orange one, I believe from Fallen Kingdom. This figure features posable arms and legs, and you can use the tail for a roaring action or for a chomping action. This is one of the few dinosaur figures that has this type of chomping action. For our next prey, we're gonna go with the Amargosaurus figure. This dinosaur stands on all four legs, it has the super long neck, and these two really tall spine or frill things running down its neck all the way to its tail, and has an action button to move its neck and to move its tail too. This T-Rex figure is from the most recent Jurassic World movie, which was Dominion. It has the darker brown body with the black top, it has posable arms and legs, and on this figure you can move the tail side to side to move its torso and to open and close its jaw. Our next predator is actually another carnivore. This is the Baryonyx figure, and this one specifically has the bright orange paint on the top of its head. But let me know in the comments, do you think that T-Rexes hunted Baryonyxes? Back to the T-Rex side, we've got a T-Rex from the original Jurassic World movie. And like many figures from that movie, this figure is actually made by Hasbro, not Mattel, who makes all the new figures today. This figure has some sound effects. You can pose it in a roaring pose, and you can move its tail down for a chomping action. For the next prey, we've got an Iguanodon figure. I believe this one is also from Jurassic World Dominion. It's a medium-sized figure and it actually has an action. When you press down on its back, it chomps its head. This next T-Rex I got very recently. This is actually a custom painted T-Rex figure. You can see right here that it is also a battle damage T-Rex that you can still turn on and off, which is pretty awesome, and I love this camo coloring. This prey herbivore figure is the Hammond Collection Triceratops. Unlike many of the other Triceratops figures, this one has much more natural coloring. It does have a lighter underbelly, and there's some detailing along its face. I really love the detail on its horns. It makes it look really worn. Up next for the T-Rexes is actually another custom painted T-Rex that I got probably a few weeks ago. This figure is called, I think it's like the Terran T-Rex or something like that, and it has an action button on its back that you can use for the tearing action, and another button on its back to move the tail too. And this custom paint job has a much more realistic look, I think. You can see different shades of brown, and then of course it has the lighter underbelly. But the coolest part, I think, are all the battle damage slashes that the artist added onto this figure. So I think this is a lot more battle damage than this Terran T-Rex originally had. I think this next unusual dinosaur could also have been prey for T-Rex dinosaurs. This is a Sarcosuchus, and I believe there's two different versions of this figure, and this one has the green body with the brown on the top, and of course the super long jaw that you can open and close with a button on its tail. This T-Rex figure is a dark green color, and one of the only few, I think, that is naturally dark green. This was not custom painted. Its arms and legs and tail are posable like many of the other figures, and it has a button on the top of its head for the chomping action. Our next prey is an Ankylosaurus. This figure, I think, is from the Camp Cretaceous series, and it features the clay red underbelly and then the brown armoring on top with the tan spikes. And this figure features an attack action when you press down on its back. Back to the T-Rex side, we've got the Camp Cretaceous Epic Roarin' T-Rex. I think this T-Rex figure might actually be a little bit larger than many of the other T-Rex figures, and it features the movable arms and legs, and by moving the tail, you can move the T-Rex's head and open and close the jaw. Next up for the prey, I've got another Stegosaurus figure. This one is quite a bit older. It features the blue-green coloring on the sides. It's got a lighter yellow underbelly. And like many of the Stegosaurus figures, it has an attack button when you press down on one of its spines. Here's another battle damage T-Rex. This figure, kind of like the custom painted Terran T-Rex, has battle damage painted on its body, some on its neck, a little bit on its chin, and elsewhere on its body too. And other than that, you can move its arms, you can adjust its legs and its tail, and it has the button at the top of the head for roaring. Back to the prey side, we've got, I believe, a Sinoceratops. This figure is in the light blue-gray coloring. It's also got some bright yellow and orange coloring on the front of its face. And by moving the tail, you can move the head, and it has sound effects too. These next two T-Rexes are a bit smaller in size than many of the other ones. This first one here is the Sound Surge T-Rex that came out for Jurassic World Dominion, and it's pretty small and it's a hard plastic compared to this Jurassic Park. I believe it's a juvenile T-Rex, and this figure has the real feel skin, so almost its whole body is this soft rubber. And this figure has some epic battle damage on its side, but no sound effects. However, the Sound Surge obviously does have sound effects. For our next prey figure, we're gonna go with one that might be a little controversial. It is a Velociraptor. Do you think that T-Rexes hunted Velociraptors? This figure is the basic Velociraptor, so you can pose its tail, its legs, and its arms, but it doesn't come with any sound effects or attack buttons. Next up for the T-Rexes is a figure that is very special to me. This is a Stomp and Escape T-Rex that I custom painted myself. And let's actually compare this painting with the original version. So here is the original paint job. You can see that it's mostly brown and it has some gray detailing along the top of its body. And compare that with what I did. So it still has a lot of brown on the top, but it's got this really nice green color running all the way up to its face. And then of course the bright yellow underbelly. I think it's pretty cool, and it is one of the figures I am the most proud of. The next prey figure is another scary looking carnivore, but it still might have been hunted by the T-Rex. This is the Suchomimus figure, and I think there are two different versions of this figure. This one is in the blue with the yellow detailing running down its spine, and it has one action button for the chomping action. Next, let's go ahead and open up this brand new one that I bought for this video. This is the Jurassic World Legacy Collection Extreme Chompin' T-Rex. All right, here it is. It's another bright orange T-Rex with the darker brown on top and the light underbelly. It has the posable arms, it's got the posable legs, and the tail as well. And you can actually move the neck and head around quite a lot too. But don't forget, it also has the chomping button on the top of its head. Our next prey is another Triceratops figure. I believe that this one is from Jurassic World Dominion, and it has some unusual colors on it. There's this soft green color in the back, and then it has this more swampy green color running up all the way to its face, and it has the orange on the top of its frill too. And this figure features an attack button when you press down on its body. This next T-Rex is an extreme battle damage T-Rex. It has the light underbelly with brown on the sides and then the gray detailing on the top. And I think this T-Rex might have been what this originally looked like. So check out those differences in the coloring now. They look totally different. For our next prey, we've got another Iguanodon figure, but this one actually came out quite recently. I believe it was released as a pack with a Scorpiovinator figure. And this Iguanodon has the light tan on the sides with the darker brown on top, and it has an attack button when you press down on its back. Our next T-Rex is the Mighty Bull T-Rex from Jurassic Park. You can see the leg tattoo right there. And like many of the older figures, this has the real feel skin, so it's a soft rubber over most of its body. And something that's pretty unique for the older Jurassic Park figures, this T-Rex can actually swallow smaller dinosaurs. And you can see the stomach compartment right there. This prey figure is the Herrerasaurus, and I believe this dinosaur is also a carnivore, but I think it was plenty small enough to be hunted by T-Rexes. And this Herrerasaurus figure features the battle damage on the side that you can open and close. Next, let's grab this huge super colossal T-Rex that's been hanging out in the back. This figure is also a custom colored T-Rex, and it is now in the dark green coloring with the black striping along the top. This figure might be one of my oldest super colossal figures. It definitely has a lot of wear and tear to it. Next up for the prey, I've got a small Parasaurolophus figure. Now it doesn't have any action buttons, but you can still pose its arms, its legs, its tail, and of course its head. And here's another classic T-Rex figure with a light brown and dark brown along the top, and a fully posable body, and the jaw chomping action. For our final prey and dinosaur of this collection is a baby Brachiosaurus figure. This one comes in a few different versions, and this is the light green on the sides and the dark green along the top. This is the Isla Sorna capture pack. Let's go ahead and open it up. All right, here is our Jurassic World Jeep and the Parasaurolophus. With this Jeep, there's actually a button you can press that shoots out the seat. And then you can see that there's a missile that it shoots too, just like this. That's super cool. This is a super awesome dino hunting playset. Really cool. All right, up next, we've got a Jurassic World Legacy Collection Velociraptor. Let's get this out of the box. All right, so here is the brand new Velociraptor. I don't think I actually have a Velociraptor with this type of coloring. Plus, this Velociraptor has a slashing action with its torso. Look at that spinning motion. That is so cool. It's spring-loaded, so it bounces back and forth. That is really awesome. All right, up next, we've got the Pachycephalosaurus. I love the coloring on this one. It's got that dark blue with the gray. Let's get this out of the box. This is a super cool herbivore. You definitely don't want to get headbutted by this dinosaur. Check out this action move. Spring-loaded head. That is so awesome. And right back here, we've got the Cosmoceratops. That is so interesting. Look at all the horns all over this one's body. Let's get it out of the box. Wow, I love the way this dinosaur looks. It looks like it's wearing a crown almost. And look at the horns on the side too. And this dinosaur has an action as well. Check that out. When you wiggle the tail, the head goes up and down. How cool is that? All right, I know you've been looking at this one. This is a giant Velociraptor. Look how big this figure is. It's probably, I don't know, maybe 3 feet from tail to head. And it's actually pretty heavy too. This dinosaur has a stomach compartment right here. So you can actually feed this dinosaur littler dinosaurs or whatever you want, and it'll go down the throat all the way into the stomach where you can open it up and get those toys out again. That is so awesome. And look at the size of these claws too. Right in the back here, we've got the great Tyrannosaurus Rex. Look at the size of this dinosaur. Look at the size of its body. That is a huge neck and face. And of course, there's the action button for roaring. That is so cool. There's so many teeth in its mouth. And of course, you can wiggle the tail and it'll move its head back and forth. Up next, with a super long neck, we've got the awesome Brachiosaurus. Look at that interesting bump on its head right there. That is so cool. This figure doesn't have any movable parts, but it is super realistic with its coloring and its texture. That is so cool. And one of the next huge dinosaurs in this haul, the great Indominus Rex with battle damage. Look at all those teeth and the awesome battle damage on the side that you can turn on and turn off. There we go. Right up here, we've got a Stegosaurus with a gray-blue coloring. Look at that tail swiping action. That is so cool. And you can adjust the head too. Here's one of my favorite dinosaurs, the Carnotaurus. That is super awesome. It's got a little battle damage on its head. And with the tail, you can move the head. Here's what I think is one of the scariest predators in Jurassic World. This is the Scorpius Rex. It's got loads of teeth in its mouth, super sharp claws, and look at this poisonous tail. Those quills on its tail are poisonous, so you better watch out for those. Here is a super bright dinosaur. This is a predator. It is the Suchomimus. Look at that long mouth with all those teeth. Kind of like an alligator, really. And look at that fin all along its back right there. Right over here is an herbivore. This is the Ankylosaurus. And look at all that armor plating. Here is a scary looking predator. Look at that red all along its neck. This is the Carcharodontosaurus. This is a super cool looking dinosaur. See all those spikes along its back? That is super awesome. Right over here, this predator looks kind of like an alligator too. This is the Sarcophagus with all those teeth in its mouth and this red scaling all along its back and then the green bottom. All right, we've got a bunch more predators and herbivores in here. These two are both Carcharodontosauruses, and look at the difference in coloring too. I think this one's my favorite because I love this orange right along the top of its body. But these are both super cool dinosaurs. Right over here, we've got another herbivore, and look at the horns on this. It kind of reminds me of the horns of a bull, kind of. This is a Nasutoceratops, and it's got an action button in the back. It can whip its tail back and forth. That is super awesome. And it's got a button on the top for swinging its horns around too. Watch out for those horns. All right, let's keep digging. Ooh, this is an interesting looking herbivore. This is a Calavosaurus. I love the coloring on this. Got the yellow on the top and the dark blue on the sides. And you can move the head up and down and the tail and all the legs too. Uh-oh, better watch out. Here's another predator. It's the Baryonyx. This is super cool. Check out that chomping action. here is another herbivore. This is a very uniquely colored dinosaur. This is a Zuniceratops, and it kind of reminds me of a Triceratops, you know? See those two horns in the front right there? That is super cool. Got some smaller herbivores in here. Let's check these out. Wow, these are all so different from each other. This is a Chialingosaurus. And look at those spikes on its shoulder too. How interesting is that? This little one right here is a Protoceratops. Looks very small, and it might be a young Protoceratops, but it is super cool. This orange dinosaur is a Gallimimus. Look at that long neck and the long tail. I bet these dinosaurs ran really fast. And this little dinosaur is a Triceratops. See, got the 3 horns on its head right there. But wait, we've got some more predators in here. Look out, it's the Endoraptor, one of the sneakiest and smartest dinosaurs out there. Let's check out these. This is a baby Brachiosaurus. You can open and close its mouth and move its neck up and down. And this is another giant Stegosaurus. It's got that tail swinging action. Those spikes are super big. Wow, that is so neat. Here comes another predator. This is the Spinosaurus. Look at that huge spine along its back, and then all those teeth right up front. All right, we've got a few more dinosaurs in here. This huge dinosaur figure is a Pentaceratops. And check out these action buttons. Those are some massive horns on its head. Right back here, we've got another Parasaurolophus. And this is an older one. This is actually from Jurassic Park. And it's got a running action too. How cool is that? Super cool. We've got just a few dinosaurs left. This dinosaur is called a Sinoceratops. And look at the size of that one horn on its head in the very front. That is humongous. All right, here's another predator. This is a bright red and green Velociraptor with jumping action. Check that out. Here he goes, ready, and go. All right, these are our final 3 dinosaurs of the Predator versus Herbivore collection. This is a Styracosaurus, and look at all those horns. That is super cool. This interesting looking one is a Shringosaurus. Look at those huge horns right on the top of its head and the super long neck. How interesting is that? And our final dinosaur of the bin is the mighty Kentrosaurus with those huge spikes on its side. And if you pull this lever right here, it swings its spikes back and forth. First up, we've got a ginormous Spinosaurus figure. This is the Camp Cretaceous Spinosaurus with the brown body and red along its spine and face, and it's got the action button on its head for the chomping and roaring. Next up, we've got the Terran T-Rex. This T-Rex has a really cool ability. When you press down on this button, it does a tearing action. Look at that, it's like tearing away some meat. That's really cool. And it comes with a second action button to swing the tail. Next up, we've got a big old Therizinosaurus figure, just like in the Jurassic World Dominion movie. It's got the red stripe down its back all the way to the top of its head, and this figure has some special features as well. There is a button on its tail to activate the jaw and the neck. And you can use the tail to swivel the torso back and forth. Plus, check out those huge claws. Next dinosaur is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex. This figure has a light brown body with gray detailing. It has one button on the top of its back for the roaring and chomping. And the tail, when you twist it, stomps its feet. Some pretty cool sound effects that come with it too. Next up, we've got a big old Carnotaurus figure. This has a light red or orange coloring along most of its body. It's got the gray underbelly and the brown top, and tons of little bumps along its back, as well as the two horns on the top of its head. And this figure has an action button for the chomping, and you can use the tail to move the head around too. Here's another T-Rex that I bought just recently. This is the new Extreme Battle Damage T-Rex. Check it out, there's a button on its back that you can use to activate the battle damage on the side. That's pretty cool. And the rest of the figure is fully posable as well. Here is another ginormous T-Rex in the back. This one is camo colored, and I believe it's custom colored. That was done a long time ago. And this figure has a few actions that you can do with the tail. You can move the tail up, and it does a roaring pose. And you can move the tail down, and it does a chomping action. This dinosaur is a Baryonyx. It's got the light green coloring and the light brown and dark brown along the top. And it's got an action button on its back for the chomping. Right over here is an Albertosaurus. This figure is medium sized. It's got the dark green coloring along its body and that red maroon color all the way along the top of its head. And this Albertosaurus actually has the battle damage, both on its leg and the battle damage that you can open and close on its side. And you can even bring the rib cage up and down to reveal the stomach inside. Here is another Baryonyx figure. This one is light gray with blue and light green coloring and a little bit of white along the side. And it has the slide lever action to activate the roaring sound effects and the jaw too. Here's another Baryonyx figure. This one has light green coloring along with some darker green along the top and on its legs, and the darker brown along its neck and the top of its head too. This Baryonyx figure also has the slide lever action that you can use for the sound effects and the chomping. This is the Majingasaurus figure. It's a bit smaller. It's got the dark green coloring with the yellow and bright blue detailing along the sides. It has teeny tiny arms that are adjustable, and you can use the tail to move the neck and head around. Let's see what we got next up. This is a Carcharodontosaurus figure. It has the dark blue coloring with the yellow and brown detailing along the top. The arms, legs, and tail are fully adjustable, and there's a button on its back for the chomping. Here is a Cryolophosaurus figure. This one has some really cool crowning along the top of its head in that bright orange color, while the rest of its body is yellow and brown along the top. With this figure, you can use the tail to control the head as well. Here is another Baryonyx figure. This one has some bright orange coloring right along the top of its head though. And of course, it's got the button on its back to activate the jaw. Next up, we've got a dark red Carnotaurus figure. This dinosaur has the light underbelly and some purple detailing along the top of its body. And it is very textured. You can see those bumps and ridges all over everywhere. And of course, it's got the huge horns at the top of its head, plus an action button to activate the chomping. Next up, we've got a super bright yellow Suchomimus figure. This dinosaur has the brown detailing along the top. It's got that spine all the way from its head, all the way down almost to the end of its tail. And this figure has two action buttons. The first is for the jaw and the chomping, and the second action button activates the tail for swinging around. This dinosaur is a Metriacanthosaurus. It's a bit smaller than the other figures. It's got the dark red coloring with some darker detailing along the top, and the bright yellow-orange coloring right along its head. And of course, it's got an action button on its back to activate the jaw. I've got another Suchomimus figure. This one is a dark blue color with some bright yellow detailing along the top and along that spine that goes all the way to its tail. These Suchomimuses have really long and narrow snouts, still full of teeth though, and there is an action button on its back to activate the chomping. Next up is another Carcharodontosaurus figure. This one is tan in color with the brown and orange detailing along the top, and it's got all these little spikes right along its spine, running all the way down to the tail. That's pretty interesting. And this figure has an action button that activates the jaw once again. That's pretty cool. Here we've got an Allosaurus figure with the light tan coloring along the underbelly and the sides, and the darker blue along the top of its back all the way to the top of its head. This figure also has the slide lever action for a bunch of different sound effects and chomping actions. Over here we've got a big Dilophosaurus figure in the bright red coloring along with the green, brown, and red along its frills, and that super bright yellow crown on the top of its head too. This figure is pretty basic though, so it doesn't have any action buttons, but you can still move the arms, the legs, and the tail, as well as move the frills back and forth. Here is a basic Spinosaurus figure. This one is a lot smaller than the Spinosaurus that we saw at the beginning of this video, and this one has the dark green coloring, but still has the iconic red spine and the red around the eyes as well. And on this figure, you can't open and close the jaw, but you can just move the arms, the legs, and the tail. Next up, we've got a huge Carnotaurus figure. This one has some darker red, basically brown coloring along the side. It has a dark gray underbelly and the black along the top. And this figure has a few actions too. The tail actually controls the head, so you can swing that around and up and down, and there's a button on the tail to activate the jaw too. Here is another Cryolophosaurus figure. This one is a dark blue color. It's got the light underbelly and some white detailing on the sides, and then a bunch of red along its back and on the crown on the top of its head too. And just like the other one that we saw, you can use the tail to control the neck. Here is the Baryonyx from the Hammond collection. This Baryonyx is way more adjustable than a lot of figures that you'll see in here. Check that out. You can move its elbows and its arms, all over on its legs. It's pretty realistic with its movement, and it's got a bit more texturing than a lot of the other Baryonyx figures that I have. Looks like we've got some mini Dilophosaurus figures in here. This first one is a soft purple color, and it's got some yellow, orange, and red on its frills. Looking pretty scary. And I've also got this soft green Dilophosaurus that's also got some orange and some yellow on it. And this one actually has an action that when you move the tail, it springs the frills up. That's really cool. Here is the Irritator figure. Most of this figure is dark brown. It's got a little bit of the light underbelly, and it's got some cool dark blue and light blue detailing all along its spine, all the way to the top of its head. And check out that super long mouth with all those teeth. All right, looks like we got another giant Dilophosaurus figure in here. This one is green and has red frills and the red crown. And just like the other one, you can open and close the frills, as well as move the arms, legs, and the tail too. Next up, I believe that this is the Roarivore Allosaurus. This dinosaur is gray all along its body and has the yellow detailing right along the top of its body, all the way to the tip of its head. Here is another Metriacanthosaurus figure. This one is a dark mustard yellow along most of its body and underbelly, and it's got that dark green detailing along the top of its back all the way to its head. And it has an action button on its back for chomping the jaw. We've got another Albertosaurus figure in here. This one does not have the battle damage on its side though. It's got the bright orange detailing on its side all the way up to its eyes, while the rest of its body is a dark green color. This figure has an action where you can move the tail to control the head, as well as press the button on its tail to activate the jaw too. Check it out, another Baryonyx figure. This one has the bright reflective blue coloring on the top of its head, while the rest of its body is a soft brown color and a dark gray blue detailing along the top. And it's got the action button on its back for the jaw. Looks like we've got a few Monolophosaurus figures in here as well. This first one is a brown color with gray detailing, and it's pretty adjustable. It's a pretty small figure though. This other Monolophosaurus figure actually has some battle damage on the side that you can open and close, and is fairly adjustable as well. And this final one is a dark green color, has some yellow detailing and that bright red detailing, and check out those green eyes too. And this figure actually has an action button. When you move the tail, it chomps its jaw open and closed. Last of all, we've got a Gallimimus figure. This dinosaur is a soft brown color and it has some darker brown striping along the top, and you can move its head up and down as well as its other limbs too. This is the massive hybrid Indominus Rex figure. It's got some hidden spikes on its back that you can activate and a battery-operated jaw-chomping action. And here is another Indominus Rex figure, but this one is not a hybrid. It's still quite large though, and it actually has a real feel neck and head, where the rest of the body is a hard plastic. And on this figure, you can use the arm to open and close the jaw. It's got some sound effects. Right over here, we've got a medium-sized Tyrannosaurus Rex figure in the tan coloring. And I think I forgot to mention earlier that all of these figures are made by Hasbro, and that was the only Jurassic World movie that they designed toys for. And on this figure, you've got a button on its back for the chomping action. Here's a much smaller Indominus Rex figure. This one has some really cool battle damage right on the side that you can open and close, and you can use the tail to chomp the jaw. This is another T-Rex, actually the same model, but custom colored into this red, black, and a bright yellow coloring. It's a much more detailed coloring than the original, and it looks like there's even some battle damage on its back too. And of course, there's the jaw-chomping action too. And here's yet another similar looking T-Rex figure, but this one's pretty special because this is actually a hybrid T-Rex. Check out these spikes that pop right out of its back and along the top of its head. It's got totally different coloring with the green and some yellow detailing, pretty crazy looking. And of course, the jaw-chomping action. Up next, I've got an even larger T-Rex figure, and this figure has the same real feel neck as did the Indominus Rex earlier, but this figure actually has a very unique attack feature. What you have to do first is stand it up into the roaring position. It's got some sound effects. And then by moving the tail, it swings down into a chomping move. That is a pretty massive biting action. And here is our first winged dinosaur of this original Jurassic World's collection. I'm actually not sure what species this is, but it's pretty cool colored, bright blue and red with some yellow and a battle damage button on the top of its body. And not only that, but there's also a wing flapping action too. And of course, I've got a ton of Velociraptor figures from the first movie because they played such a big part in the movie. First off is this tan and green Velociraptor figure. You can move the arms and the legs. There's also this dark green Velociraptor with the black striping, and you can only move the arms and legs on this one as well. Here is a dark brown Velociraptor, but this one actually has some special features. There's first a battle damage button on its side, and you can use the tail to chomp the mouth open and closed. Then there's also this other dark green Velociraptor figure. It has some pretty cool striping, different compared to the other ones that we've seen so far. And here's another tan and green Velociraptor. I think it's the exact same figure actually. Another dark green Velociraptor figure, this one with more subtle dark stripes along its back. This one has the battle damage button, and it also has the tail that chomps the mouth, although it is broken now, sadly. Then there's this dark brown Velociraptor figure, might be slightly larger than the other ones, I think. One more dark green Velociraptor with the more intricate striping and the battle damage on the side. And on this figure, the tail doesn't control the mouth, it actually controls the arms for some slashing action. And then here is a smaller Velociraptor figure, also in the dark green coloring with the striping along the sides. You can see a little bit of battle damage on its side. It's also got this little harness, the camera headset, and the tail that controls the chomping of the mouth. Next up, I've got a few more Indominus Rexes in here. This one's got the battle damage on the side that opens and closes, and the chomping jaw. And I think I've actually got another identical one right here, also with the battle damage and the jaw chomping action. Here is another winged dinosaur. This one is called the Dimorphodon. It has a mostly green body with some black, brown, and tan detailing along its wings. It's got one battle damage button on its back, although it doesn't work anymore, but you can move the feet to get the wing flapping action. Let's see here. Oh, we've got a really cool Dilophosaurus figure. This one's quite large. It has the battle damage on the side with some yellow, brown, and gray coloring. And check out these enormous frills on its head. I've got a similar sized Dilophosaurus figure right here, but this one has even cooler coloring. It's got some neon green, yellow, orange, and dark brown. It's got the battle damage button on its side. And I forgot to mention it on the other one, but moving the tail actually activates the head to move up and down and kind of moves those frills. That's really cool. Now here is another really cool super bright dinosaur. This is a Stegoceratops. It's a hybrid between a Stegosaurus, as you can see by these spines on its back, and a Triceratops, which the rest of its body looks pretty close to. But the coloring is amazing. It's got dark blue, light blue. All of its horns are a gold color, which is really cool. Got a little bit of battle damage on the side, and it has an attack action. When you move the tail, it has this head ramming movement. Over here is another pretty special figure. This one is pretty hard to find. This is a special edition Ankylosaurus figure with a removable special shell. So there underneath is its normal armor plating, and it's got some purple coloring with some reflective green all over its body too. And then that special super spiky shell is a bright green color with purple on the spikes too. And then it just goes right over the top like that, and you push it down. Plus there is a tail swinging action when you move the leg, and a head movement too when you move that same leg. Next up is one of the smaller Mosasaurus figures that I have in my entire collection. I'm sure you remember this dinosaur from the first Jurassic World movie. This figure has some battle damage on the side that you can open and close. It has some adjustable fins, and you can use the tail to activate the jaw, although sadly on this figure, it's super old, so it's broken now. Here is another Ankylosaurus figure. This one is the normal edition, so it has much more typical coloring with the tan on the sides. You can see some battle damage right there, and then the brown on the top where all of the armor plating is. And this figure has that same tail swinging action when you move the leg, as well as the head movement too. I've got a couple more Stegoceratops in here, each with their own different coloring. This first one's probably the most normal coloring with the brown and tan. It's got the battle damage on the side. And when you move the tail, you get that same stabbing action as the blue one that we saw earlier. And then this one, which is probably my favorite version, which is the dark green with some tan detailing over its whole body. And of course, it has that same stabbing action when you move the tail. Next up, I've got some smaller T-Rex figures. This first one is the repaint edition. I'll show you the original painting in a second, but I think I like this green version better with the battle damage on the side and the tail that controls the head. Here is the original paint version, so just the tan coloring with a bit of gray on its face. Still has the battle damage on its side and the jaw chomping action. And then there's this one, which is really special. This is a hybrid T-Rex and Dilophosaurus. Check out that crazy bright orange coloring with the gold and black striping. This T-Rex also has the battle damage on the side, and it has these awesome looking frills on its head. And of course on this figure, you can still control the jaw by moving the tail. And here is a Pteranodon figure, just about the same size as the Dimorphodon figure that we saw earlier. And it's got some cool gray coloring with the purple accenting on its wings and on its head. Next up here is the smallest Indominus Rex of this collection. I believe it was from the Bite and Thrashers collection. And it's got the battle damage on the side, which I'm sure you've noticed by now is a staple among these original figures. And of course you can use the tail to get that jaw-chomping action. Here's a different looking dinosaur. This is a Ceratosaurus. It's got a huge battle damage button on the side, and the classic red, black, and tan coloring for Ceratosauruses, and the tail that when you move up and down, activates the jaw for chomping. Here is the original Pachycephalosaurus figure in the yellow coloring with the black striping along the top, and the tail that activates the headbutting action. Next is this really cool Allosaurus figure. It's super bright with the yellow, red, and then the white underbelly. Looks quite a bit different compared to how Mattel is making Allosauruses now. Here's one of the smallest Spinosaurus figures I have in my entire Jurassic World collection. It of course has the battle damage on the side. It's got some pretty interesting coloring with this light green and then the brown and then the orange on its spine, which is unusual now for Spinosaurus figures. And of course the tail that you can move to activate the jaw. And finally, here is the smallest T-Rex figure that I have from the original Jurassic World figures. This figure has a huge head and jaw compared to the rest of its body, and although it doesn't work now anymore, you could use the tail, move it back and forth to activate the jaw-chomping action.
Want to see more dino videos? Click the subscribe button now.